Here in Waukesha County, we have a unique opportunity on our hands here to really capitalize on getting out what we call low propensity and disengaged voters. In Wisconsin in particular, we now see that we don't have a quality of candidate problem, we have a turnout problem in areas that Republicans are used to racking the score up in, Waukesha County, Ozaukee County. I can give you an example. Ozaukee County is a county that Republican candidates circa 2012 used to win by 30 points. Dan Kelly, our last statewide Republican to run for statewide office, our Supreme Court race, won it by 5. So it's win by more, really capitalize on those low propensity and disengaged conservatives, and then lose by less in counties like Milwaukee County, Dane County. Milwaukee County is a county that I'm also the vice chair of the Republican Party in Milwaukee County, and we understand that we have a unique path to victory in Milwaukee, and we can turn Milwaukee County from being the reason that we lose statewide elections, which it historically is, to being the reason we win them going forward. So we have a methodology in here. So when you're looking at this for reference later on when you're writing this. So we have a methodology that identifies wards that have the most amount of those low propensity and disengaged conservatives, and then we cluster together wards to create territories, and that's our Chase the Vote program. So these territories are designed for people from that neighborhood to be knocking on doors of their neighbors who we know are not turning out and voting. So I can give you an example. When we run this same equation that's here in this pamphlet here, when we run this equation for Milwaukee County, we've identified a little over 100,000 likely conservatives that are not voting, chaseable ballots, which is amazing when you think about, I can put it to you this way. Trump won Wisconsin in 2016 by 22,746. He lost Wisconsin in 2020 by 20,682. We've identified 5 times as many conservatives in Milwaukee County alone that are not voting. So when you think of it that way, that's our path. So that's something that we know the left has really honed in on, targeting those voters with low ballot value and making it where all they have to do at the door is say yes. We're seeing that now with conservatives, that there are conservatives, apathetic conservatives, low propensity disengaged conservatives that are not voting, that now we're going to be specifically targeting and have been for in this entire election cycle through our Chase the Vote program. There's a whole plethora of reasons. When you talk about like the profile of a disengaged or low propensity voter, there's a lot of different reasons that people have. We think the remedy to finding out that reason is to have neighbors knocking on the doors of other neighbors. There's more value in saying, hey, I'm your neighbor, let's discuss why you don't vote, versus, hey, I'm a random stranger from out of state, let's talk about what issues you care about the most. So that's what we believe is the best way to identify that, because it is different across the board. But we know the common denominator is that they clearly don't value their ballot in the same way that someone who's considered a 4x4 voter, someone who turns out in every election would. Yeah, that's how we have planned this out. We want them to be as close to this neighborhood as they can. We want them knocking in the areas that they know best, their neighborhood. Kind of the idea of being the CEO of your area for the conservative movement. It's the community organizing model that Obama talked about in 2008. We laughed at Obama in 2008 as conservatives when he said, I'm a community organizer. We're like, well, what exactly is that? Well, it's just this. It's narrowing down our organizing to the ward and then mobilizing, almost like a ward captain system where we're getting neighbors talking with other neighbors and people who understand that, hey, I'm telling you to vote because I'm from this area and I know that your vote is going to make a huge difference here. So our Chase the Vote program at Turning Point Action is, we're very clear that the 2 types of voters that we mostly target are your disengaged and low propensity conservatives.
So it's not so much for that small sliver of undecideds right now.
At this point, we've seen a big enough sample size of disengaged and low propensity conservatives to know that that's our path. We don't see this as a war of persuasion among undecided and swing voters.
And so there's a bigger return on investment, you think, there?
Massive. Okay. I mean, just the numbers tell us that alone. There are wards, and particularly here in Waukesha County, there's a ward not too far from us, about a 10-minute drive away from us, that we estimate over 1,000 conservatives are not voting. So I mean that's massive. That's our path right there. It's a numbers game in Wisconsin. Statewide, we have hundreds. So, statewide, we have hundreds of ballot chasers that have been hired, that have been trained
And they're all from
at
here.
this office. No, this is a statewide effort. So this,
Or they're all from Wisconsin.
this is our model, and this in here shows that our model isn't just county specific. It's
Okay.
statewide. So Waukesha County is obviously where we're planting our roots. That's where our office is.
Yeah.
And you can see here, this is our territory map for the Milwaukee area. A huge chunk, actually like one of the overwhelming chunks of our ballot chase territories are here in Waukesha County. So for all intents and purposes, Waukesha County is the center of the political universe right now for us. National pundits don't even have Waukesha County on their radar. We've identified it as a top 3 county to saving our country. So taking that into consideration, but looking at the whole state as a whole, we need to pick up about 20-something thousand votes somewhere in the state. It could easily come from Waukesha County, but it can also come from places like Ozaukee, places like Dane. So with all of that said, we have hundreds of ballot chasers on the ground. We train them here at our Waukesha office to then go back home and
these are their communities that they're going into.
that's the beauty of the model, is that we really hone in on neighbors knocking on the doors of other neighbors. So I can tell you, as someone who wears both hats, as vice chair of the Republican Party of Milwaukee County and as enterprise director for Turning Point Action, this strategy is a complete paradigm shift in how we typically view get out the vote. And we can just call it legacy infrastructure has tackled get out the vote in the past has been from a very transactional standpoint, very lit drop centric, very survey centric, and just kind of, just knocking as many doors as you can in a short amount of time. And somewhere along the way, the human element of politics went to the wayside. What we really hone in with this model is what we call relational organizing, which is building relationships with these low propensity and disengaged conservatives, making it a lot easier for them to commit to voting if it's someone they know that lives in their neighborhood. Yeah, it's making contact with them in their neighborhood. So I mean, it's door knocking, it's introducing themselves, it's talking to them about why they don't vote, and ultimately getting them to vote in some way. For some people, that's turning in their absentee ballot. For some people, that's showing up and voting early. For some people, that's coordinating a ride with them to the polls on election day. It's sort of like looking at, hey, I'm the local voter registrar. I'm the local voting captain of the neighborhood, and this person is here to help me vote. It is a complete shift away from that.
It's not about the number.
Well, with these low propensity and disengaged conservatives, we know that we have to relationally organize with them. Yeah. These are people who are with us every step of the way on conservative issues, but will do anything to get you off their porch. In a lot of ways, a random canvasser from a community that they're not even close to showing up at their door, talking to them about what issues they care about the most is the last thing that they want to see, the last thing that's going to motivate them to vote. But someone from their neighborhood who's building a relationship with them that ultimately leads to, hey, I'm going to help you turn in your vote. This is something the left has perfected for a long time. I mean, we estimate that they had hundreds of ballot chasers on the ground during the Dan Kelly race last year.